This is a quick run through of design thinking and what it's about. Should be 5 minutes. So the fundamental idea of design thinking, it's basically a framework, a set of processes, tools. Do we need to obey it 100%? Not really. The whole point is we want to guide people through a human-centered kind of process so that we can build better products, better experiences. So in the 5 modes of design thinking, we see that we start with empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. In our whole workshop, most of it will be focused on empathize, define, and then there will be more free space for the group members to work on ideate and prototype. I think facilitators will have a heavier duty on empathize and define, whereas ideate and prototype is going to be more free. So the burden on the facilitators will be less. Okay, for that reason, I will spend more time talking about empathize and define, and the rest are still okay. Now, balancing, diverging, and converging. So what is this part about? This is not something that we're going to share with them, but I want every facilitator to have this clear mindset. Are we in a diverging mode or are we in a converging mode? In diverging mode, it means that we want to open up to new possibilities. We never say no to any suggestions. We'll say, okay, that's interesting. Let's take that into consideration. Let's write that down. Let's put that down. Let's look at that later. Okay. Any ridiculous ideas will be accepted. We do not judge during the diverging mode. And obviously, this is something that we will employ during the empathize, because like some people might behave in a way that we totally cannot understand, but still we have to build empathy towards that kind of users. So definitely diverging. Ideating is also a diverging mode because you want to have a full free brainstorm where new ideas keep coming out, even if they seem totally impossible. You know, some of the impossible ideas have turned out to be great ideas. Converging, on the other hand, is when we start looking at all our options and then focusing on the more impactful one, the more interesting ones, the more feasible ones, etc. It depends on what kind of criteria we are using. Okay, there might be different ways of focusing and converging. And so this is really up to you to decide with your team, your group, on how you want to narrow down your options. So some groups might say, okay, you know, we want to decide based on this. They have a rubric for it. That's fine. Some people just want to go with a majority vote. Say, okay, who's in agreement with this? Let's raise hands. Okay. So for define and prototype, it's more of a converging process. So as you can see, therefore, your roles and your mindsets has to change with every different mode. First off, with the empathize, really to look at the users from to step into their shoes. I think this is going to be a hard part for facilitators also because you're playing the role of somebody being interviewed. They're going to have your team members interview you. You have to actually just, you know, let it go and answer the questions according to your genuine experiences. At the start, you know, if you were in a train station, what kind of difficulties have you encountered? So the challenging part though is that you, at the same time, while being an interviewee, some of you may be asked to also try and guide your interviewers to ask better questions. If they're going to just stop at yes, no questions, you got to say, aren't you going to ask me something deeper, like why do I feel this way? Or like, oh, don't you think this is an important point that you should, you know, persist and ask further questions about? So you're playing a bit of a double role, and I can understand it's going to be difficult. So if you ever need support, the moderators, which is myself, Rikusa and Wei Wei, will be on hand. Just call out to us, and then we will try and assist as much as we can. Okay, the user persona is a fictional persona. It does not have to be a real person based on you. You have to make sure that your team members understand that. Okay, it's a classic kind of person, meaning that it represents the potential audience, but it is not necessarily a real person. So given that, why do we still want to include all our demographic background, etc.? It's because the more concrete and more specific an image we have, the more likely it is for us to imagine whether they would say yes or no to certain ideas that we have. For example, Sarah is a mother of two very active children, and we are going to build a playground in the airport. Sarah is going to say yes because like it keeps her children entertained. Okay, we think about Sarah and we know, okay, Sarah would like this. Okay, whereas Tom, a business traveler, wouldn't care as much. In fact, he's like, why do we have this kind of boisterous, noisy places in airport. I would just want to chill and relax. Okay, so having personas is very important for us to quickly talk about the kind of idea evaluations. Going down to define, we need to start understanding, okay, what are their needs, what are their problems? So we drill them down by using two things here. Point of view statements, which is basically the problem statement. One single line that tells us, Tom, busy house husband, 5 children, needs help to do this and that. So you can tell that it's actually 3 parts. The user with some of its demographic information, the need, what kind of need does he or she need to be fulfilled? And lastly, what is the rationale, the reason behind the need? Those 3 parts come together to form a point of view statement. Okay, next, how might we statements? Moving further from the point of view statements, we want to start looking at ideas and solutions. We know the problems, we know the needs. We want to find a solution. How might we therefore keep children safe and engaged without adult presence? Notice that these are statements that bring us in the direction of a solution, but we are not really coming out with the concrete solutions yet. Okay, so all these how might we statements, or what I say HMW statements, can then sprout out new ideas for us. When we look at one how might we statement, we'll be thinking, oh, okay, we can create a child sitter robot, an on-demand child sitter service, okay, a video babysitting experience. So all these are actually potential routes for us to create more ideas. Okay, third part is ideate. This part is going to be really just your job is to make sure they don't limit their imagination and themselves. Try and spark more ideas. So in brainstorming, not every idea will come to our mind. So it's fine, just let them not prejudge and think this idea will not work. In fact, have somebody in the team ready to write down any idea. It can be yourself. You can appoint somebody to keep typing, keep writing, and making sure that everything is recorded. And if the ideas are not enough, we always have other ways to build more ideas, such as Scamper, which is a framework which we can modify all the current ideas we have and then build um, more crazy ideas. For example, if we have a robot sitter idea, maybe we want to switch it out. Maybe we don't, or we want to combine. How about a robot sitter idea that also does your housework? How about a robot sitter that, it's not really a robot, but it's just a video camera in your house? Okay, so all these things can actually be stretched depending on what technique on Scamper you use. Lastly, you're going to come with a lot of ideas, but you will eventually want to come down to one or two single ideas that you think are the best, or your team thinks is the best. This I will leave it up to group facilitators to decide how to identify one, or even your team members might, feel free to talk it out in themselves. We don't have to structure everything out for them. We need to leave some space for them to decide things on their own. Popular vote, definitely the easiest, but if there's somebody who feels very strongly and says, no, I don't want this, 5 against 1 person who feels strongly about it, going to build some unhappiness, then you can maybe bring in like the idea and say, guys, what are the kind of rubrics, qualities that we want out of our ideas? Do these actually apply? And also please bring across to them that, we work on a disagree and commit kind of principle. Even if you disagree, and once the decision has been made on the group level, everybody should come in 100% to work on the decided idea so that you can make the best presentation possible. Okay, the prototyping part is going to be really a lot of hands off from facilitators. Once they've decided what kind of interface they want, I think the facilitator's job is really here to make sure they realize not everything has to be a PowerPoint slide or a Jamboard slide. They can, draw something. They can do a video role play skit. They can create physical models that are, prototypes. Just let them know that the option is open here. But otherwise, facilitators have a pretty easy job. You can participate as you like in this segment. It's really quite relaxing for this point onwards. Last is the test. There's no test for our workshop because of the way we are holding it. There's only going to be a presentation, but we will still give feedback. Feel free to also keep giving them feedback throughout the whole experience. And I think feedback is always good, but make sure that it is feedback. It is not like you must change this. Okay. We want to build a iterative experience. If there's something wrong at the initial mode, feel free to go back, fix some things, but don't force it upon them like, we are doing some cookie cutter kind of structure. That's not what we're going for. Okay, I hope this actually helps, and that's what design thinking is about.